Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity of presenting at the forum. Now I'm going to start with a bit of a context setter, a green growth context setter. So what we see here in this image is the carbon intensity of the global economy. So basically how much carbon is produced for every unit of energy that goes into the global energy system. And what we see is that for the past 50 years, it's kind of been stable. Now, what you see there in yellow and in green is the IEA scenarios up to 2050 for the energy system. And what we can see is that to reach the 2-degree goal, and this has been brought up earlier in the beginning by Vincent, to reach the 2-degree goal, the carbon intensity of the global economy needs to be reduced to almost a third of what it is today. Now, what we also know is that for the energy sector in particular, technology innovation happens quite slowly. What you see here is the primary energy mix from the 1800s, and we can see that energy transitions typically take 40 to 80 years. The average is around 60. And what we also see is that from 1970s there, you can see that the energy sector is kind of poised for a new energy transition. What happened since then is that it's pretty much been flat again. And what we know is that this is again from the IEA's, from the International Energy Agency's scenarios. We know that we need a new transition right now that is led, among other technologies and solutions, by renewable energy, by distributed energy, and other clean energy sources. If we look at electricity systems, which is the focus of this talk, smart grids in particular, electricity systems are particularly late adopters of new technologies. So this is the share of distribution networks that are older than 40 years, which is already quite an advanced stage for power system assets. We see that in 2005, the situation was kind of controlled, but what we're seeing now is that already today, a lot of networks are aging, and if we look at the current rate of replacement of equipment in distribution networks, we see that in a lot of places, around 50% will be of the assets will be quite old and in need of replacement. What we are also seeing is that there's a lot of alternative and distributed energy that is very much picking up, and many of these technologies have been in the news lately. In the top left, we have solar photovoltaics, which has been a big story for the past 5 years. We have storage. There was the announcement of the Tesla Powerwall last year. Then we see also electric vehicles that are picking up and smart meters. If we look in particular at PV, distributed photovoltaics, solar photovoltaics, we see that it's taking off. That's our projections from our renewable market reports. And we also see that particularly in non-OECD countries, the deployment of distributed PV will actually overtake OECD countries in the next 4 to 5 years. Electric vehicles, we also see that deployment is pretty much close to a 2-degree pathway, and we see global EV sales picking up, and what you see there on the bottom right, that's the charging points. So we see 8-fold growth in charging points over the past 2 years. Again, lots of distributed resources. Smart metering, we're seeing it becoming mainstream. This is the projection for smart meter penetration. We see in many markets it's already reaching 50%, and in some countries it's already pretty much a full-scale rollout. And then finally, when we look at batteries, this shows the cost projections. The cost projections are outpacing what analysts expected and what regulators are capable of adapting to at the moment. So the net result of all of this is that consumers are increasingly looking for more control, more insight of the energy use, and a lot more distributed points of energy generation, energy storage, and energy consumption. This is the present power systems. They haven't changed much for the past 50 years. There's not a lot of IT involved in there. The power flows pretty much unidirectionally from centralized generation to the consumers, and there's not a lot of involvement from consumers in the energy system. In the future, we see power systems with a lot more information flows. We see a lot of electric vehicles. We see a lot of distributed generation, and we see that industrial customers, commercial customers, residential customers will be more and more involved in their energy consumption. So the net result of this is a lot more information on what is happening in the energy system needs to be dealt with by the operators and by the utilities and also by consumers. And we're talking about an increase in orders of magnitude. So from today, that's a bit of cheating because that's the global data flows. But what we do know is that in the energy sector, every 2 years, the data volume doubles. So if we look at what are the key trigger points that are going to happen when we're looking at digitizing and having big data in the energy sector, we see, first of all, a first generation of smart metering, which is what's happening today. And we see uncontrollable distributed generation. So pretty much when the sun shines, when the wind blows, grids are accepting it. And again, smart metering, that's pretty much unidirectional information. Maybe users can see their consumption, but not too much information exchange. Second generation smart metering, that's what's starting to happen today. Smart charging, that means that the electric vehicles are charged when it's best for the system, and that pretty much decreases the impact they have on grids and on upstream generation assets. And smart distributed generation, again here, PV plants, storage plants that can respond to the system needs in a smarter way. When we see, again, the next step in data flows, we see distributed intelligence. This means more local control. So basically, instead of a centralized system, we see that in distribution networks, there will be more balancing of supply and demand, local power exchanges, and so on. And then finally, incorporating behavioral data, demographic data, smart homes, and what's labeled normally the Internet of Things, so a lot more appliances and end users that are digitized and that can exchange information. So I'm going to show examples of each of these that we see happening. So when we look at the first generation smart meter and uncontrollable solar PV, distributed generation, we see already in some distribution network operators that are innovating in these aspects. This is an example from Germany where the distribution system operator is able to monitor much closer what is happening, where the electric vehicles, where the PV plants are being installed, is able to monitor in real time what's happening in the network. And the key innovation here is that it's able to grant a permission for a new installation, a new PV plant in real time. Now this usually takes weeks, if not months, of permitting, of inspections, and so on. And this is an example where monitoring can actually really accelerate and reduce costs for system operators. A second example here, which is more second generation smart metering, a bit of smarter distributed generation, and local balancing of markets. This is from Nice Grid in France, but there's many emerging examples all over the world where a lot of the distributed resources, thanks to IT technologies, can be aggregated and they can be presented as a single power plant, for example. So you're aggregating a lot of demands, very diverse demands, very diverse generation resources, and this is presented as one power plant. And this really minimizes the amount of balancing that needs to happen at the higher level. So for the balancing of the whole system. A third example. This is a more advanced field trial. This is in Japan, in Kitakyushu. So by combining here both having end users, consumers respond to energy prices in real time, so energy prices that are happening elsewhere, which right now we do not do, and also by having as much as possible happening behind the scenes, so by being able to control when equipment goes on and off, and making consumers much more participative of their energy decisions, the energy footprint and the CO2 footprint of consumers can be vastly reduced. And here we're talking about 20–30% reductions, how much energy, how much CO2 is emitted in a community in this case. And now, a lot of these examples we see emerging in many places, but the key issue is how can it be scaled up, how can it be made replicable, so that we can meet this kind of very large-scale system transformations that I showed earlier. What you see here is the patenting activity, so the innovative activity that's happening in different fields in the power sector. What we see is a huge increase in digital technologies, and the more classical technologies are pretty much, innovation has been stable. How do we scale it up? So first of all, the first barrier, the first innovation gap that we see is an institutional and a technical one. So how does one accelerate demonstration and deployment in systems that are pretty much regulated? So networks are regulated systems, not open markets, and systems that are pretty much built up. So we have to work with existing technologies. For example, only in Europe, there's about 10 to the 7, I think it's 100 million kilometers of distribution networks, and these are overseen by 2,400 different entities. 200 of them, they have more than 100,000 customers. Also, well, here we see that there's a centralized infrastructure, centralized energy markets, but when we look at the end-use equipment, it's actually not standardized. So a lot of the smart technologies, there's hundreds of different standards, and there's dozens of communication protocols. And there's not enough dialogue going on between IT and OT, what's labeled OT, which is the equipment, the electrical equipment. The second key innovation gap is a behavioral one. So we actually do not know to the extent to which consumers will actually react to technologies that bring them to the energy use, to what extent they will respond, so it's usually labeled demand response, how much will they actually be willing to shift energy use, how much will they be willing to give this kind of information to energy providers. That's linked to the relationship between energy utilities and telcos. So there's very different types of engineering happening in the energy system and electrical systems and in telecommunication systems. Data security, data privacy, access and ownership, these are emerging issues. The energy system is extremely complex, particularly electricity networks, and the security needs for different actors in the system are very different. So if there's an attack, a 5-minute gap for a consumer is not the same as a 5-minute gap for a critical infrastructure, a critical power system infrastructure. Again, there is not enough understanding of the roles and responsibilities here. And when we look at data privacy, access and ownership, when stakeholders in the energy sector have done surveys here, they've seen there's a very notorious survey from BCG, which showed that consumers would be 5 times more ready to accept these smarter digital technologies if they knew that their access concerns would be taken into account. And that's the biggest reason for that, is that consumers are not used to engaging with this kind of data and sharing this kind of data, whereas other types of data is more common.